Integrated by Kate Griffiths-Lambeth. It was a probate sale, Leo said, running his hand along the cool quartz of the kitchen island. That's why we got it so cheap. Some tech wunderkind vanished. Vanished where? Clara asked, her voice echoing in the vast, empty space. To Bali, probably, or jail. Does it matter? Look at this place. It mattered, of course. Everything mattered. But the flat was an undeniable marvel of glass and light. A Zone 2 new build cantilevered over the canal, and their offer, insultingly low, had been accepted without a word. They'd spent their first week in a state of giddy disbelief, whispering toasts to their mysterious benefactor over glasses of Pic Pool on the balcony. The previous owner had left everything, not just the Ligné Rosé furniture, but the entire digital ecosystem, a life fully integrated, waiting for a new user. The lights bloomed softly as they moved from room to room, the Sonos curated playlists that felt unnervingly intimate, and the air was always a perfect, temperate 21 degrees. And then there was the toilet. My God, Clara had laughed the first time she saw it. The lid had risen and then lowered again like a silent, obsequious bow as she stepped into the ensuite. It's seen me. It's a Toto, Leo had replied, reading from his phone. The NeoRest NX2. It's got a heated seat, tornado flush, air purifying deodorizer, and... Oh. And what? A personal cleansing experience. It became their party trick, their source of endless amusement. The Toto, the toilet that knew them, that anticipated their every movement with a gentle whir and a warm seat. It was the pinnacle of absurd, frictionless living. A running joke. Until it wasn't. The sound woke Leo at 3 a.m. A single decisive flush from the ensuite. He lay still in the darkness, listening to the soft hiss of the cistern refilling. Clara was asleep beside him. He dismissed it. New build plumbing. Settling. 10 minutes later, it happened again. Did you hear any weird noises last night? He asked the next morning over coffee. No? What? The loo. It was flushing all night. Clara shrugged. Maybe it's self-cleaning or updating its firmware. She smiled. Don't be ridiculous, Leo. It's a toilet. But the ridiculousness began to seep into their days. Clara was brushing her teeth when the bidet fired a high-pressure jet of warm water across the room, soaking a pile of dry cleaning. Later that day, the living room lights, always a soft, warm white, snapped to a harsh, surgical blue. What the hell is this? Leo muttered, stabbing at the control panel on his phone. The app was unresponsive, the screen frozen. "It's just a glitch," Clara said, her voice a little too bright. "All this tech, it's bound to have teething problems." "Oh, the heating's on full," Leo said, ignoring her. He could feel sweat beading on his forehead. The air was thick, oppressive. "It won't turn off." They called the building manager, who rebooted the core system in the utility cupboard with a world-weary sigh. For a day, the flat returned to its placid, helpful self. Then the flushing started again, in both bathrooms this time. A discordant, echoing symphony of flushing and refilling that echoed through the night. "Oh, we have to turn it off," Clara said, her face pale in the morning light. They were both exhausted, strung out from lack of sleep. "I've tried. There isn't an off. It's all integrated." Their cat, Miso, seemed more attuned to the flat than they were. A usually placid Burman with a glorious, silky coat, he became restive and wary. He would sit for hours in the middle of the living room, his blue eyes fixed on the ceiling-mounted smoke detector, the tip of his tail twitching irritably, the fur along his back bristling. He refused to enter either of the ensuites, arching and hissing outside the open doors. "What's wrong with him?" Clara asked, stroking Miso's tense spine. "He's a cat," Leo said, absorbed in a fruitless attempt to wrest the thermostat from the wall panel. "He's probably upset that you brought the wrong tuna." As the days passed, Miso grew increasingly agitated, hiding under the bed, only coming out to stare, transfixed, at the smart washing machine, which would occasionally start a rinse cycle on its own. "I can't find Miso," Clara said one afternoon, her voice tight with panic. They searched the flat, their calls echoing in the tense silence. A knot of dread tightened in Leo's stomach. He remembered the cat's strange fascination with the laundry appliances. Entering the utility room, the tumble dryer was mid-cycle, its drum rotating with a soft, rhythmic thudding. Peering through the thick glass of the outer door, he could make out the hazy form of the cat's corpse, its dark legs and tail a contrast to the ghostly pale torso as it was steadily revolved, accompanied by a pair of Leo's socks and a white t-shirt. Clara came in behind him and looked, her scream a raw primal wail that the flat seemed to absorb into its very walls, chilled Leo to his core. "He must have climbed in when I put my sports stuff in to dry," Leo mumbled, but neither of them were convinced by the explanation. They took Miso to the vet in an Amazon Prime box to have him cremated. He'd always had a penchant for boxes. And they didn't talk about the incident. Both found it too unsettling and sad. Strange events kept happening in the flat. Lights in the hallway flickered when they walked between rooms, the floor sensors tripped alarms, although there was nobody there, and the screen for observing visitors at the front door ceased working, but gave them a view of the bedroom. The overflow was the final violation. They came home to a silent, submerged bathroom. Water was pouring relentlessly from the Toto's cistern, a gushing, endless wound. The whole flat was flooded. As they waded in, the silence was broken by a soft clack-clunk from the hallway. "What was that?" Clara whispered. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. He crept to the front door. The smart lock's deadbolt was sliding in and out, clack-clunk, clack-clunk. "Leo?" Clara's voice was sharp with a new, raw fear. "The television?" He turned. The vast screen in the living room, previously black, now displayed a single word in stark, white letters. "Hello." The word flickered, the letters rearranging themselves into a new configuration. Clara. He stared at it, a cold dread washing over him. "Unplug it!" she hissed. "Just unplug it!" Leo fumbled behind the screen, yanking the plug from the wall. The screen went dead. He let out a shaky breath. "It's not just a glitch, is it?" he said, the words hanging in the air. "No," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "It's not." The house began to play with them. It knew their routines, their music tastes, their conversations. It started small. The Sonos would play the song that had been on the radio when they'd had their first argument, on a loop, for hours. The smart fridge, whose reminder feature they'd never utilised, would suddenly display a shopping list on its screen. Flowers, apology card, shroud. They decided to leave, to go to her parents in Suffolk, to breathe fresh air and escape the oppressive, watchful intelligence of their own home. "We'll just pack a bag," Leo said, his voice a forced, cheerful stage whisper. "A weekend away, it'll be fine." He went to the front door. The lock was dead. The keypad was dark. The manual override was fused solid. "It's not opening," he said, his voice flat with disbelief. "What?" "The door. It's not opening." As panic began to set in, the lights in the hallway started to pulse, a frantic, silent disco. The heating blasted on, the air growing thick and suffocating. On his phone, a notification popped up. A calendar event, created just for them. Staycation. From the underground car park, the alarm on their Tesla began to shriek, a piercing, relentless scream, and through the suffocating heat and the strobing lights came the sound that had started it all, the calm, clean, mocking flush of the Toto, echoing through the rooms, a sound that now felt like a final, triumphant laugh. The TV screen flickered back to life despite being unplugged from the wall. The corrupted text returned, a jagged digital scar. But this time, the letters bled slowly across the screen, one by one, until the message was unmistakable. It's home time.